Good morning, everyone. My name is Pasha McGregor, and I'd like to welcome you to the New Thought service of Sunday, September 19th, 2021. I'm in the role of facilitator this morning, and I'm joined by my good friend Elizabeth Theriault, who is presenting, and my good friend Jean Love, who is the music minister. Elizabeth will also be doing some music, but Jean gets to have the title. So I wanted you to be able to see all three of us at one time briefly in our different settings. The miracle of Zoom is unifying us, although we really are in three different places. Okay, now we'll go to speaker view. So now from this point, you will just see one of us at a time. And the first thing on our program this morning is a song from Jean Love, Mother, I Feel You.
Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Mother, I feel you under my feet. Mother, I hear your heartbeat. Hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, ho. Hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, ho. Hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, ho. Hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, hey, I, ho. Father, I see you when the eagle flies. Your golden wings are gonna take us higher. Father, I see you when the eagle flies. Your golden wings are gonna take us higher. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, ho. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah, ho. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, ho. Hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, ah, hey, hey, ah, ho.
Thank you, Jean. That was wonderful. Very grounding. Now I would like to invite you to everyone to reflect on some words of wisdom attributed to Maha Gosananda. And I will allow maybe a minute or so afterwards to let it sink in and then ring the little bell when that time is finished. So get in a comfortable position. Notice your breathing. The thought manifests as the word. The word manifests as the deed. The deed develops into the habit. The habit hardens into the character. The character gives birth to the destiny. So watch your thoughts with care and let them spring from love, born out of respect for all beings. that came from a little card that Elizabeth gave me sometime in our long friendship, probably 20 or 30 years ago, but I kept it. And I've seen that attributed to other people since, but I'm going with Maha Gosananda. So at this time, I would like to officially welcome everyone to the virtual New Thought Center of Hawaii and tell you a little bit about us in case you are more have discovered New Thought fairly recently. It's quite possible to attend services for, gosh, months and still not quite be sure what is this all about, because the services can be quite diverse. But here it is in a nutshell. So New Thought Center of Hawaii is a multi-faith spiritual community. And our mission is to provide a sanctuary of aloha for the nourishment, development, and evolution of each individual's unique spiritual path. As far as our history, which we're kind of focusing on more than usual right now, for reasons that will become obvious, our history dates back to 1971. This group evolved from the Religious Science Church of Hawaii, which was incorporated in that year in September. We have held Sunday services continuously from that time, previously in Keaho, and since 1999 in Kealakekua. Thanks to the pandemic of 2020 and 2021, we have developed the technical capabilities to hold our services online when necessary. But we've missed very few, even though the delivery system has been different. This is actually the Sunday closest to the exact date of our, quote, birth, when the documents were signed for that original church. It was September 22nd, 1971. As far as our connection to the wider world, our center is affiliated with the International New Thought Alliance. That organization goes back to 1915, I think. It's an umbrella organization that brings together groups and individuals who share certain common beliefs and attitudes. Among them, the idea that a new thought embodied in consciousness produces a new condition. And Judge Thomas Troward is credited with that definition. INTA includes many unity and religious science churches, many of which are now called Centers for Spiritual Living. And you can visit our website to learn more, www.newthoughtcenterofhawaii.com. In deference to our roots in religious science, we generally include a reading from the Science of Mind magazine as a part of our service. This is the latest issue, and I will share that with you now, and then get to introduce Elizabeth for the main feature. Okay, so I actually chose the reading for September 21st because it seemed to fit a little better with the theme of the day. The title is The Return. The two quotations are from Joseph Campbell and Ernest Holmes, and the little essay that ties it all together is by Reverend Raymond Anderson. So here's what Joseph Campbell has to say. The journey of the hero is about the courage to seek the depths, the image of creative rebirth, the eternal cycle of change within us, the uncanny discovery that the seeker is the mystery which the seeker seeks to know. And from Ernest Holmes, circle of life. The circle is a symbol representing the infinite, the first great cause before it moves into manifest form. The circle of life represents, in its downward arc, the coming of spirit into matter, and in its upward sweep, man's journey from gross materiality into pure spirit, his perfected state. That's from the New Thought Dictionary. Ernest Holmes was the founder of Religious Science and also the first editor of this magazine that this comes from. So here's what Reverend Anderson has to say. The final stage of the hero's journey is the return. But in reality, this is not the completion of the journey. The journey continues with a new call to adventure. In each of the first 3 Star Wars films, we see the journey of Luke as he is called into adventure. Each film is a new chapter with different thresholds, different death and rebirth moments, and different returns, all before a new call to adventure comes from higher consciousness, a higher level on the spiral. I remember thinking that once I finished college the first time, I would get a job, and that somehow that was the end of something. The end of learning, the end of struggling, or getting that one right job would be the end of lack and scarcity, or getting that one right relationship would be the end of loneliness. One meal ending eventually becomes a new meal beginning. One breath ending becomes the next breath beginning. Life, spirit is ever expanding, and what it is, we all are. That being the case, does it not make sense that our lives are an ever expanding hero's journey to higher and more expansive ways of being alive? Looking at our life today, right now, where on our hero's journey are we? What are we invited to learn, to release, to realize, and to embody as we continue to live, laugh, and love as the eternal and infinite, divinely magnificent beings we are? Whew. Okay, and the reading concludes with an affirmation. It has 3 sentences. I'll read the whole thing through once, and then each sentence one at a time with a pause for you to repeat it if you wish to. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. God is here, now, right where and as I am. Nothing will make this truer than it is now. Okay, now one part at a time. God is a circle whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. God is here, now, right where and as I am. Nothing will make this truer than it is now. Thank you, Reverend Anderson. Okay, so now I have the pleasure to introduce the speaker. And as we were discussing before we started the recording, Elizabeth Theriault and I have a long history together, so I can't possibly include everything, but we're focusing on what pertains to New Thought Center. and the special role that she has played in its history. Her talk will be the fourth in a series of presentations by New Thought elders as we approach this milestone of our 50-year anniversary. In this context, elder means either a founding member of the religious science church, which evolved into New Thought, or someone who served as president during the past 50 years. Elizabeth is actually one of the youngest of our elders in chronological age, but she has enjoyed growing into the role. Elizabeth became a member of New Thought Church in 1992. She has remained active to varying degrees to the present day and remembers the transition from New Thought Church to New Thought Center. Elizabeth was most active in the 1990s, serving on the board for several years and as president mid-decade. It was a transforming time for her and all involved. This journey and its gleaned insights will be shared, as it was deeply sculpting to who Elizabeth is today. It's very fitting that she is presenting on the Sunday closest to the fall equinox, since Elizabeth partnered with Dawn Barnett to establish the practice of quarterly seasonal ceremonies at New Thought over 26 years ago. I am grateful to both of them for this gift. Dawn, by the way, hopes to be with us again in December. She passed on this one because it's online, not her cup of tea. In 2003, Elizabeth started Drumspeak, a foundation which promotes growth, healing, and expansion through Indigenous practices. She facilitates drum circles and yearly gatherings, workshops at which people learn to make their own ceremonial tools, drums, rattles, and talking sticks. She officiates ceremonies throughout our island communities on the mainland and internationally. Her professional life also includes 38 years as a chef, retired now, 17 years as co-owner of Kona Art Gallery in Holualoa, that's ongoing, and a lifetime as an artist. Elizabeth's talk is entitled Living as a Butterfly Warrior, Reflections of a New Thought Elder. And I was sorry that I couldn't give Elizabeth a lei, but I realized I can give her one in consciousness. So here it is, Elizabeth. It's beautiful, fragrant, just perfect for you. And Elizabeth is going to actually do a song for us as the first part of her sharing. So let me get her on here. Okay, I mute.
Aloha. Aloha, everyone. Before starting the song, I want to just share that it's really an honor and privilege to be in the presence of and supported by these two beautiful elders, beings of light. I am a younger elder, and I feel at 64 I'm a young elder, you know. And I'm going to offer this song, but I do want to share that there was at one time an understanding that it was important to have wisdom to share as I grew older, and really letting go of that idea of external beauty, you know, that it needs to shine from within. So it's very much an honor for me to be with these two beautiful wise women and the whole Ohana community of New Thought and beyond. Thank you so much. This song came through Diana LaRose, a sister friend of mine. And in time, as the relationship with the song grew with me and our women's circle, she realized it came through her to me, for me, to her, for me. And so now she gave me the song with the use as I feel inspired to. So it feels perfect as the topic of our time here to offer this song called Butterfly Changing Woman. I am free, I am free, I am free, come fly with me. I am free, I am free, I am free, come fly with me. Butterfly woman comes changing me, butterfly woman set me free. See the sun light up the sky, it's the same light in your eyes. See the sun light up the sky, it's the same light in your eyes. Butterfly woman comes changing me, butterfly woman set me free. You can look to the east and look to the west with the eye of the heart you see best. You can look to the east and look to the west with the eye of the heart you see best. Butterfly woman comes changing me, butterfly woman set me free. It's a light in the heart, it's a light in the night, it's a light in eternal clear blue sky. It's a light in the heart, it's a light in the night, it's a light in eternal clear blue sky. Butterfly woman comes changing me, butterfly woman set me free. On golden wings through the heart she flies, brings love and light and peace inside. Golden wings through the heart she flies, brings love and light and peace inside. Butterfly woman come changing me, butterfly woman set me free. As I was invited and asked by Pasha to share this morning, and I have to say, just hearing your introduction, Pasha, brought up so much emotion for me. I still feel it. I do believe in water ceremonies, so this is what happens. But just so deeply touching for our history together, and also just bringing back the energy of that time where I was so involved in New Thought, and how much it has sculpted me and transformed me, and going through every stage of the caterpillar to the butterfly over and over again. And as I was speaking about what was I to share, because I was asked about reflections of a New Thought elder, I felt like it was very important to speak firstly about the specific experiences of my time coming to New Thought and how that evolved. And then I will speak in a little bit about how that morphed into the drum circle that we spoke about and drum speak, and then briefly about what's on the horizon for me now. Because there's so many tangents to everything that was experienced for me and the community, and the the inspirations that I got in art and healing with family, and how expansive the experience just emanated out from me into so many different realms. Family, my marriage of a very long time, my son, my families of origin. There's like so many tangents that I could share and include. And then I realized, how do I express 35 years in about 40 minutes? So that's like a page, that's like, a year, a minute. So I decided for the first part of the sharing, for sure, to write it, because it's also a sense of responsibility, because others are involved. And I want to make sure it's respectful and inclusive and elevating as it was, even in the challenges. And so I'm going to read and, what I wrote and rewrote and refined over the last 3 days. So I think you'll still hear my voice in it, even though I'm reading. I hope so. and that it can be useful in some ways, to you as a reflection in your own life, perhaps, or your own participation in New Thought. And you can see, the origins, like we can see how our aunties and our grandmothers and great grandmothers and grandfathers also, did all of their actions, and now we're experiencing that today. And what maybe felt different or unusual or groundbreaking then, it's just like every day now for New Thought. And so it's, there is no time. it's all being layered and experienced together. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing. I first came to New Thought Church then in 1990, just a young caterpillar way back then. I was introduced to the community by board member Fawn Barker, a vibrant open artist, and her presence compelling and compelled by free-spirited authenticity. When I arrived this first Sunday, I experienced support and permission to explore and unfold with whatever I was to become. It was the becoming for me that was so vital, the becoming. At 33 years old, I knew the stage I was in would be benefited by the community of individuals largely at least a decade older than myself. The programs offered were varied, with globally known wise, accomplished spiritual teachers and seekers like Alan Cohen and Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, to name a couple. I needed to find my voice. I could barely express my thoughts or opinions in the midst of 2 or 3 people, especially in such an open, mature spiritual environment. It was scary and intriguing to me, and so needed. In the beginning, I came based upon the program offered. I think many of us do that, right? What is the program? Shall I go? As I gently integrated, I came weekly, a sponge to absorb and learn, a hungry caterpillar whose food was needed and seeded for healing and consciousness growth. It is a really unique community, I must say. It's unique. In hindsight, I realized my timing to join membership in 1992 to New Thought Center was reflected not only my need, but in support of our collective need to invest time and energy to transform. It would not necessarily be easy. The board at that time was beginning to shift from mostly inviting speakers or board members sharing, also encouraging now our own community members beyond the board to offer our spiritual journey from personal experiences. This was foretold by previous minister Betty White, that someday we would not need a minister. The elders at that time were guided by this wisdom to be self-sustaining with autonomy while retaining New Thought values. The Sunday services became increasingly led by members who offered programs supported by a facilitator as a presenter, alternating with invited renowned outside guest speakers. Then a big change happened. It was greatly discussed, resisted by some, and therefore eased in slowly. A circle. We were shifting to a circle formation of chairs. Very different than speaker authority, audience listening. There was a lot of discussion about holding on to the podium. It offered some protection, and some separation. Big attachments emerged by some. The circle intimated a new paradigm towards a group of all leaders. Push and pull, comfort and discomfort, one way or another, was experienced by most. My caterpillar self was all in on the process. The unknown at that point was somehow exciting, as the change felt natural and welcome to me. I was enlivened by what I did not yet know. This is what was needed. I felt it in every part of my body. As I grew more comfortable with everything, fears lessened, unbridled creativity, loving openness, exuberance, and eagerness was propelling me into the deepening change towards greater trust, vulnerability, authenticity, and participation. About 2 years has gone by during this transition phase. Many of the long-standing elders on the board were exploring the newer work of Scott Peck, The Different Drum. In this circle model that was growing in comfort and favor by most and resistance by only a few was taking hold. It was fertile soil. The foundation for community encouragement was contacted. Facilitator leader Bill Mudd was sent to us. And we did our first community building 3-day weekend workshop. It was 2 days and the Friday night, if I remember correctly. We practiced and learned many things. For me, I felt it as mostly a safe container. Several scenarios of how to build community were given in the book. Some were grounded in actual building structures for community use, like teamwork, and others, like our examples of community building, focus more on spiritual principles with even stronger components for healing. It was recommended that we read this beforehand, before the workshop, and I did. It was a very intense weekend. At least for me, it felt that way. We hardly left the room. There was about 25 of us, I think, something like that. Good, Pasha's nodding her head. I was thinking 23, 25. Almost everything imaginable was going on. The strongest component was about being authentic, feeling the discomfort, and moving towards unity while honoring the differences. And sometimes this was smooth, and yet overall it was not easy. The stage of chaos towards true community was delved into deeply. Now I've learned and understand that chaos actually is simply a creative moment, a portal for change that can be led by ego or by spirit. And, we have outcomes according to our choices. There are 2 ways out of chaos we learned in this gathering, and we practiced it. Organize our way out to avoid our feelings to have control or authority over others, or empty ourselves. Our judgments, resentments, feelings into the container to release the old teachings, patterns, and the paradigms we are still limited or affected by. Well, my almost butterfly self emptied, listened, felt, released, and created more space within. Every sharing was an emptying for myself, yet also for the collective. I cried a lot during my releasing. Being an empath, I didn't know that's what I was then. It was just the way I was all my life. I learned I was often the emotional release person for the whole group. Young and open. I felt I was also in service to Creator in some way. Every attempt in the group to organize ourselves out of the chaos took us more deeply into it. It became quite painful. There was no way out but through. I was accused of manipulation by one person. I evoked deep discomfort for others and gave beautiful permission to many. That's how I experienced it, and in reflection and the response by community. So that's how and why I'm sharing it. My whole being, mind, body, and spirit released. I recall not allowing myself to be comforted even at that time with touch, as it would take me out of the connection. This change, this transformation was too important to me. I was becoming a true, authentic human being. I was finding my voice and accepting the fullness of who I was. I was not believing my limitations. I was using the container and believing in the light. For me, the container was powerful, deep, all-encompassing, and being held by spirit, it was safe. We deliberately had an empty chair for no person. It was for spirit, reminding us of Creator's presence and offering us a way of truest, highest collaboration. After the weekend, I felt we were better as a group. But many were polarized, even more, with different visions for the church's direction. Yet I felt free, encouraged, optimistic. I came out of the weekend emerging from the cocoon as freer and clearer of who I am, what I was doing there and here on earth as my journey was unfolding. This was a really powerful offering that New Thought, came forward with for community, because we also did a community building workshop in Waimea, and we had support groups in both of these locations. and we were doing it for the board. And so it was really like four support groups if you chose to go to all of them, you know, which I did mostly. I was soon asked to be on the board. We practiced community building, yes, and to release ourselves to do God's work. Some of us did and some of us didn't. Joan Gannon was president on the board then. Her term was coming to an end. So many of the other members had served multiple times in that capacity. Some unwilling in that capacity. Some other members were unwilling to take that function or role. Others were so new to the group they weren't nominated as candidates. Then it was like I stepped out of the room and they voted me president. It was really like that. And, you know, people were, I remember coming back, we were at Fun's house. I was like so surprised and like, you know, me, what? And it was stated that I was the most open and therefore agreed upon, like everything could be heard and that it would somehow be nurtured or whatever was going on in people's minds. But that's what I was told. I was there to serve. I creatively did many things to strengthen the circle format in respect of developing a group of all leaders, inclusive of differences. Power struggles continued within the group. Cohesiveness worked at long and hard until there was a breaking apart and eventually a breakthrough. Some of the most valued, long-time established leaders left the group. For me, it was heartbreaking, and yet it was all completely understandable. Personally, it was an intense, saturated growth time for me. Break-aparts and breakthroughs often result in more light coming in and peace ensuing, like first cracks of the cocoon and the light revealing. But it took a while, a long while. Since many went into respite and seldomly came, there was a need for weekly program facilitators. I stepped up, strengthening my new wings, 2 or 3 Sundays a month for at least a half a year. This was to be an invaluable gift of skill development for me under these circumstances. Most importantly for me, I understood the container, the importance of using it. And there was nothing to do but trust, be authentic, release, and listen for the mysteries to be revealed. But also I prayed a lot. I prayed a lot. And then act on it, to be obedient to that guidance. I have grown to feel this is the most responsible thing to do as a human being and a child of God. When it is clear, it is undeniable. Then just a note about the empty chair for spirit. At times throughout the weekend in our monthly support groups, we experience the power and mystery of this. When the group as a whole use the container fully and everyone's on mute. Authentically, seemingly unrelating sharings, one after another, was revealing a common thread. So there'd be a sharing and another sharing that didn't relate to the past one, and then like that. And as the circle was creating a spiral, which led to consciousness shift and great ahas. It's like synergy, and we got to see how we were all connected, even though there were different components, energies, activities, lives, orientations, everything. And I know for me, that's what kept me going, because I could see the container really worked and it was beyond ourselves. And if we released ourselves, each person would express what they needed to express, and we would all get the gift of spirit. And that kept me going for years, you know, when we had those experiences, because that's like the artist heart, the healer, the warrior, the visionary. You know, we all need that input from spirit. And to take this moment to thank the church's elders, as I said for a moment, for this portion of my sharing, for the pathways in my transformation. There's so much love and so much support and so much encouragement and positive impact still living on in many of us, not only me to this day. And so I really honor the whole New Thought Center now community and the ancestors behind all of us and everyone who participated in the church and center ongoing. So this is a little view in personally. All the while I had met someone, all the while that all of this was happening that I just expressed, I had met someone in the community building workshop I connected with strongly, Dawn Barnett. She was in the workshop. She had only been there 3 weeks on the island. She spoke of her activities on the mainland, drumming in a woman's lodge under the full moon or around a fire. She also made drums. I didn't know what all of that was, but I knew for sure it was for me. This is like another stage of the butterfly's transformation. I compelled her to do her first drum making workshop on the island, and I would support her. 5 months later, we were 6 of us in North Kohala making drums. We started a women's group with full moon drumming and ceremony at the fire, shamanic journey work inside at the new moon. I practiced becoming skilled at drumming for journeys and leading aspects of the ceremony. I will be forever grateful for Dawn's introduction of Angelus Arian, the Fourfold Way book to me. It became like my Indigenous developmental Bible. Healing from the pain of the break apart and in healing recovery and still serving on the board, I created a service at New Thought based on Angelus' work called The Way of the Spiritual Warrior. It was December 1994. I asked elders Pasha, Pat Sands, Joan Gannon, a musician Panay, and myself to speak and honor a spiritual warrior. Along came Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Jesus via A Course of Miracles, Eleanor Roosevelt, and the power of music. It felt so needed and grounded. I soon approached Dawn to co-create drumming circles with me 4 times a year at New Thought. She was uncertain, and I suggest we simply start with the spring. This was the first drum circle in March at the equinox of 1995. And then it was my time to find my own unique voice, and spirit was directing me. Oh, wait a minute, sorry. So I co-created these seasonal gatherings with her for 7 years. And then it was time for me to find my own voice. Yeah, and so some of the fundamental gifts of this time with Dawn, developing my spirituality in a fourfold way consciousness. So these are things that she provided to all of us, and this is my personal sharing of that. It was my kuleana or responsibility in our circles with New Thought. As an artist, I created a unique altar every season that was a prayer for the group. It increased the ritual aspect unique to each season. I came early to set it up, the circle with prayer, saging, beauty, and preparation for all who arrived. I established the drumming the circle together to delve into community with saging rather than drumming rather than distracted too much chit chat each service, so we could be already going into the container. Through all of these intuitive actions, Spirit was teaching me how to prepare a space as an optimal container portal for each individual's. The unique needs to be met and supported. My wings were getting stronger, ready for the eventual flight. So encircling around, every year with Dawn, 4 times a year, and, honoring the East and the South and the West and the North, and having the butterfly with me always, and feeling a little bit overwhelmed by one aspect of my life, which I also shared with Pasha, was, I was just like so blessed to have so much inspiration come through all the time. And I would see whatever I was going to create, whether it was in chef world or these instruments, I would see it from beginning to end already finished. And it's like, oh my gosh, they just kept coming and coming and coming. And it's like, how am I going to bring all this into form? And when I was sharing this with Pasha, she was like nodding, like, yeah, she knew all about that, between church and center and school and farm and marriage and kids and grandkids, whatever, all of it. So I said, what I started to do was just to give a nod to Spirit. Thank you so much for the inspiration. I'm not sure that it'll come into form at this time. I didn't want the inspirations to stop, so I didn't want to block anything, And I know Pasha had said that was really useful for her. And so, I started to create, or what came to me and through me. Oh, we're ready for that screenshot of the antique butterfly. Sorry. It's okay. I can talk for another moment. And so I had some young kid friends who knew I loved the butterfly, and they were artist-free spirits. So they started calling me Auntie Butterfly. So what came to me and through me was this that you see on the screen now, Auntie Butterfly Creating. And so based on the 4 stages of the butterfly, it gives us a chance to assess and affirm through change using creativity. So that stage I just shared with you was the egg stage, receiving an idea. And then I don't know about reading all of this, but it can be available to me if you either through the center. I'm not sure yet how that is happening with these Zooms, but I can also certainly post it on my Facebook page. I can do that, or you can email me. I'm happy to send it to you. But first, the egg stage, receiving an idea or vision, and it shares about how to identify that, and then affirmative stages at the end. So just as the egg stage, since I spoke about that, the affirmation is, I affirm my vision fully connected to spirit as I proceed. I use many ways of seeing to support these ideas and my voice in the world. I nurture my intuition by practicing being present. And so it goes on there, caterpillar stage, resourcing, giving myself what is needing to proceed, like, coming to new thought and getting the support and the nurturing, and, in bringing internally all the lessons and meanings and input. And then the resting in the cocoon stage, whether I'm creating something physically or in a process, is the process at rest or is it dead? It's the most vulnerable time for the butterfly transformation. When you look at the caterpillar, the body, and then you look at the butterfly, it looks like it's you can see the caterpillar in the butterfly's body. But then just a few years ago, I learned that in the cocoon, the butterfly's completely turns to goo, and then it completely transforms itself. So in that stage, they have no ability to crawl, they have no ability to fly, and they're vulnerable to a gecko that comes by, or they oftentimes would transform on my house or at the end of a shovel or something, and so they're just vulnerable, extremely vulnerable. And so are we, when we're in these deep healing phases, and we take care of our energy and affirm for ourselves. And I like this particular affirmation for that. My patience is full. My patience is full as I enjoy the darkness and trust of the emerging gifts and finishing touches, that little dust on the butterfly's wing or something like that, or our own wings. And then finally, the 4th stage is emerging as the butterfly or self in all our strength and beauty, and becoming a butterfly warrior, where it's not necessarily easy to go through all of those stages and to feel everything and to give ourselves what's needed, to intuit what's needed, to get out of our own way and release ourselves to the unknown, like the little death. The cocoon is like a little death, like every night we go to sleep and we let go, and it's all practicing to let go, for the big let go at the end of our life. And so to get to that place, of being able to show up, we also have these reminders that important strangers show up, important things happen, special learnings and healing occur, inspirations flow, and love is. And so these 4 stages are also the 4 directions. It's the 4 directions of the east, the egg stage, the south, the caterpillar stage, which is like the children playing, right, in community, the energy of the south, and then the cocoon stages, like the elder, that knows they need to let go of their earlier forms and to become the elder of who they are becoming. And they don't see the ancestors either, necessarily. We don't see our ancestors when we're in that stages, clearly, because we've gone much more internally. And then the warrior butterfly self, being the North, the warrior, where we have the courage of our experiences, the courage of all of our helpers that we've established through animal, plant, winged, stone beings, So this is a kind of like a map that I offer all of us. I use it quite a lot. I don't read it necessarily so much anymore, but I've lived it for a number of years now. So I wanted to share that. And I'm just going to review my notes to see how much more of this. Let me just look at the clock too, the time too. We're at, are we at 11:15? Oh my gosh, that's long. Okay, we need to finish. We need to finish. Okay, so that's interesting.
Elizabeth, don't worry. We didn't actually start the recording at exactly 10.
Oh, okay.
I trust that Spirit will guide you.
Okay, so how far are we into the program? I want to be respectful. Are we like a half hour for my sharing part? Okay.
I think if you could aim to complete in 10 to 15 minutes, it would be good.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna freelance it a lot more now because of time and because of I like to deliver myself, even though that is delivering myself, in a little bit more directly. From the time at New Thought and still going to New Thought, I started to go to Indigenous ceremonies, both locally and on the West Coast, and put myself in tribal situations, which was for ceremony and also women's ceremony. And, there's a lot of tension in all of that. And when it's held by a really wonderful elders that are very inclusive, it's transforming. And if not, then it can be very challenging for other cultures to come in. And I wanted to put myself in that environment so that I could learn more about being in ceremony. And so I did that for a number of years. And in 2003, as you had mentioned, is when Drum Speak was formed. And I had to get spiritual permission for doing that with Spirit. I tried to talk myself out of it when I got the guidance, because I knew I was going to have to go to the mainland probably a lot more. And also because the responsibility was huge. And for me, Drum Speak is about environmental integrity. It's about inclusive and protecting and preserving Indigenous languages. It's about supporting women as the center of community, because when women and young girls have a voice and they can use it through song and prayer, the whole community and family is benefited. This is the ways of Indigenous people, right? The life givers, the carers for the waters, and today, even more so than ever, I think we are moving. I've seen that we're moving into more female or feminine centric leadership, because it's so needed. And even the most reserved Indigenous elder men are going in that way to say, promote the women, because we need this change of the difference. And men and women have this female feminine centric parts of us. We both have the masculine and feminine. It's just orienting the way that we work in community, which is more about giving, like Earth herself does, rather than dominating or separating or controlling or being the authority in some way, So it's like a shift that I learned about. And it doesn't have to do with subservience or anything like that. It has to do with the empowerment of all of us. And I knew for myself, starting to make drums and starting to make rattles and leading ceremony, looking as I look, even though I have 7 ancestries, and I found this book when the drummers were women, and it just had cave maps and information about ancestries all over the world when the women were drummers. And so it's like, okay, then what I need to do personally is look at all 7 ancestries and the origins of the drum in each of them. And this would, and help in part, give me my spiritual permission to do what I'm doing, which was very important to me, because then I can just be myself in the space, be empowered, and with the spiritual permission to do so. So one of the things Dawn told me, because when I shared with her about drum speak, in part I was at a workshop with Angeles Arian, 4 days in the desert, when that was affirmed also through the drum journey. And so that was very helpful. And one of the things Dawn said when I shared with her about that, and I was starting drum speak and everything, and this was already, I wasn't leading with her at New Thought anymore. She said, I grew a tall oak and you have created a forest. I love that. I love that. And Judy Rothstein, who has passed now for a while, she was a music minister at New Thought. And as she saw me, especially facilitating all those weeks, when I came in, not even being able to use my voice, she said a few times, occasionally, lightly, delightfully, "You're a New Thought success story." And that helped me so much. And I loved her so much. She came and did a cooking class at my house too. So, I miss her. I miss her. And, one of the other things that I think has really, really been important, and then I will just speak about the last thing, which is where we're going from here. Doing the drum circle for all those years, still going, 17 years. And it started with just, 6 of us. And then we kept going to location to location. The last location at the Pyramid House, the last few years was 40 to 70 people every month. It was huge. And, people came from all different experiences of ceremony, didn't necessarily, have one way or knowledge or protocols. And some people were going for a date night, and some people were just to, be in an authentic circle. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons. And so they taught me, everyone taught me how to create a space that is inclusive, authentic, and safe and inclusive. And so I had to keep making more and more boundaries and verbalizing all the affirmations of what the evening was about. And then I learned all this by the practices at New Thought, to create an altar. Then it got to the point of creating an altar made just for that night. This was monthly. And then the drums newsletter would reflect that. So there was this grounding cord that we could all focus on, And also what I learned from being in the Indigenous women ceremonies is the elders spoke about not giving advice. And that has been reiterated a few times. And I came to understand why, even if it was asked for, we elders tread in that very lightly, because when you give advice, when we give advice, it was expressed that our advice that comes from our heart, our spirit, wherever it comes from, it comes out of our mouth and into the ears of another, they're going to interpret it and meld it with however we do so. But that elder does not feel so responsible that she or he is not going to be there with that person when they take action on whatever that leads to. And, a thought, as you shared in that poem in the beginning, which, I thought about that yesterday. I was like, oh, what is she going to say? And it's like, oh, I hope she does one of those. And then you did. I can't believe it. And they would say, that there's too big of a risk to cause harm. So if somebody asks you, if you're tempted to give advice, like what is right or what are wrong or what should you do, this is all part of chaos, and we are in chaos in the world and humanity today. I'm sure enough to say that we're experiencing chaos around our current issues, that we simply strengthen and direct the person to their own connection. not to say what is right or wrong or what I think or believe or feel, but simply help them strengthen their own connection. And to me, that's vital, because with our own connection, we are all standing in our ownership of who we are, in our elder self that's unfolding, in our warrior self. We can offer all the stages of the butterfly, or however it is, or whoever it is that you work with, to help this person transform to a more peaceful, understanding, and connected place to themselves. And, I've been married 43 years, and it's very easy. It would be very easy, and sometimes I do, but I really work not to tell my husband A, B, and C, all the things he needs to do in order to accomplish what he wants. And then it's like, you know what? I have no idea of his soul's journey. He might need to saturate in something very long, or he may need to do it in this way for something to take care of his soul, his spirit. And that's true for every one of us. And it's almost like interference, to impose myself on another, but rather to support, affirm, bring humor and creativity so we can laugh at ourselves and each other and enjoy the light within us and around us. And so that's something I want to make sure I said, because it's very tempting to give people advice. And I understand fully. And I've had a Hawaiian person tell me that too. It's so, the Hawaiian language is so specific. It's like, a word is a thought, is an action, just as you said. And can I be there helping that person with the thought and the action that came from my word and my breath? Not necessarily. So with that, I want to end with just a brief, well, two things. Okay, I better talk a little bit faster. One of the gifts of COVID is meeting this person, 35-year-old West African man, who has become my Ohana nephew and I his mentor since September last year. Like, it's almost a year. We are so connected. We think alike. He's highly intelligent, in fact, I spoke with him about you, both of you, but, because he speaks French and English, so he's going to hopefully be coming and talking with French with Pasha. And it's just unfolded all of the aspects I just showed about, and more so in my life. It's amazing that Spirit can customize our pathway, each of us, uniquely for what we need and what is the perfect next step for us. It's just amazing. And this is the perfect next step for me. It includes my chefing, because it's Farm Mission Global. And it's about farming. I grew up in a family of hunters and fishermen and cooks and beekeepers. I was a chef. It has to do with empowerment of women. I told him I couldn't work with him unless it was feminine centric. Helping girls get skills, fresh water for community, keeping them out of early pregnancies and illegal marriages of underage girls, and giving them skills so they can be self-sustaining while providing food for the community and households, And those are just a few things, but just to put up, this is my mind map for Farm Mission Global, and this has to do with the 4-chambered heart. And all the different things, and and also my first art form was sewing, and we're going to also, that's one of the cottage industries we're going to do for the girls. And there's so much more to this story. There's so much more. That would be sharing in itself, which may or may not happen. Maybe when Joseph Gosananda comes, we'll have that sharing. So in conclusion, let's see, I guess, yeah. I'd like to have a little commercial message, but maybe I won't. Maybe, is there time for announcements, or do we have announcements? Later.
Yes.
Okay.
There will be
anyway,
announcements.
If you want to know, let me say this: if you want to know more about Farm Mission Global, or if you want any information regarding the song or anything else, or this poem I'm about to read, just check out my Facebook page, Elizabeth Theriault, Blessing Ways. And I'm happy to participate with you in any of this discussion. And then finally, in closing, when I do rattle making, we need to have a gap the second day to not start till noon. So it's the perfect opportunity, since we're working with a warrior, to invoke an act of courage. So they get homework. We all get homework, and I take myself up on my own homework on the second day morning before we regather. And then if you want to use the safe container to express the courage act you've taken, to ground it more in the truth of the new you after taking the step of courage, then you can. So I took myself up on my own homework as usual, and I went out on a hike at the lava over here down by Makale, and it's like a really rough, like river of dried lava all the way down, to the ocean. And so I don't know why, I just decided to go there, and I had my tennis shoes on, and the lava, there was like these little kind of natural formations that kept catching my shoelaces, and it's like, I had to keep stopping to fix it, and at first I got a little irritated, and then I said, "Oh, Elizabeth, just start singing," so then I just started singing, and then this poem came, and so I'm going to share it, and then I hand it back to you. So this poem is called Mana Pule Lehua, which is the spiritual presence of the butterfly. Pule Lehua is butterfly in Hawaiian. Pule means prayer. So the prayer of the lehua blossom is for the butterfly, so it has a messenger of everything it has seen from the beginning of time. It's a witness. The butterfly is the messenger for the flower that is the witness of everything from the beginning of time. And when I worked at when I worked at Kona Village Resort, and I did those gingerbread projects every year, Auntie Eleanor, who was our elder, Hawaiian elder, she spoke 5 languages. I could talk with her about, things on the gingerbread project. So I had some questions for her. She was well into her 70s then. And so I just threw that name in there too, but I didn't say it was a name. I said, this word, what it would mean to you. And then that's what she told me. And then she said, if that's your name, you should keep it because it fits you. I didn't tell her anything about a name. It was beautiful. So here's the poem. I am a butterfly warrior, dying unto myself and being reborn anew, leading others to do the same, pointing the way with courage, bringing heart to rugged terrain. I am a moth night warrior, drawn to the flame, to see spirit's vision through the veil into ancestral domain. Using the moon with insight, watchful at the gate, ensuring light-filled presences. Come along, don't hesitate. It is the time for gathering. We are the agents of change. Stand in your power fully. Peace is now. It is ours to arrange. Thank you so much. And sorry about the confusion about the time. Before coming to this Zoom today, I kept seeing myself going to the center and like all the things I was going to bring for you and for Jean. And it just felt so real to be facilitating again. I was thinking I was going to the location. And then I realized now, with this timing stuff, that current time doesn't matter. It's so fun, so hilarious. Thank you so much, Illusion.
Thank you, Elizabeth. This was wonderful.
Thank you.
Very many seeds you have planted. I'm sure that they will bear fruit in other people's lives. So, yeah, I think there was one thing you referred to in the talk about so many creative ideas can come sometimes, but the phrasing I remembered that gave me peace was that not all the seeds have to sprout. So,
yeah,
the mind is so creative. The mind can create in an instant, but bringing everything into manifestation in the physical world, it's a bit more cumbersome. So they don't all have to sprout, at least not immediately. So as we move into the next phase of our service, I'm going to invite Jean. Oh, no, wait, Elizabeth, this is you in a different hat. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So Elizabeth's presentation is complete, but now she's going to, in her musician mode, she is going to create some music for us as we take a time to make an offering, whether it's an offering of spirit or a tangible offering. And I will bring up I'll let you get started so people can see the rattle, and then I'll bring up a screen share with guidance on how a person goes about making a donation when we aren't meeting in person. We can't pass our cold bowl, but there are
Okay.
ways. Okay.
Okay. So just to say, this song is called Bless This Home, and it's Joan Kaplan, 1993, who was also a member of New Thought Center, and she offered her music at different times in the same time that I was going regularly. And Bless This Home, and I like to think of home as the center, the earth, ourself, and blessings from above. And that's how we all prosper, as being in this community on this beautiful, beloved Mother Earth, our home. Put my butterfly over here. Blessings of the universe shine forth from above. Fill this space with awakening and the light of love. Bless all those who dwell here, that they always may be joyful in the dance of life and always at peace. Bless this home, bless this home. Bless this home, bless this home. Blessings of the universe shine forth from above. Fill this space with awakening and the light of love. Bless all those who dwell here, that they always may be joyful in the dance of life and always at peace. Bless his home, bless his home. Bless his home, bless his home. Blessings of the universe shine forth from above.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I keep calling you back here, thanking you, and then calling you back again. So now we move from the offering time to the announcement time, and I wanted to give you a chance to say anything else you might want to say in way of announcements of what any future activities you have planned that people might be able to participate in, whether in person or online. You mentioned the service project involving your friend in West Africa, or is it East? Well, anyway, I'm going to give you a little time for that, and then I'll be sharing the New Thought announcements, and then Jean will lead us in our closing song. That's what we got still to go.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Briefly, as far as those of you that have come to the monthly gatherings that have been put aside a bit because of COVID, quite a bit, there has been some circles that I haven't been completely dormant, is just because of 10 people or less, been invitation only. And we do have a Drum Speak Facebook page. I'm not sending out regular newsletters now, so if you would like to be informed, that's the best way to be informed. And there's always the potential of drum making, rattle making, talking stick raising, making. It really is dependent on my health, strength, and well-being as far as energy is concerned. And sometimes I want to go out in public and sometimes I don't, and I'm working on my house a lot. So that would be the Drumspeak website, Facebook page. And we do have our yearly gathering in March, and depending on what's happening in March, the first weekend, we usually have that as a bigger event, and also includes drum making for sure. So if that's something you've been longing to do, of course, there's Dawn also. I know she's not doing it as often, but you could check in about that around March. And then about Farm Mission Global, I've done a lot of fundraising with and for him, and a lot of it is simply to get meals in families. And right now we're working on a project to bring fresh water to an entire community for the first time in known history and in all generations. And right now, particularly the women and girls and some boys, they go very long distance to get water, and the gleaning is very dirty water. So one of our first projects is that we're in the middle of now is getting a tap, digging a well and getting a tap to this village that is near to the farm that we're doing. So I'm currently in a fundraising, which you could see on my Blessing Way site, and it's a raffle, and there's 14 drums, including something of jeans, and 2 drums and 2 rattles, and many other beautiful gifts for the raffle. So if you'd like to make a donation, contribution, that would be most greatly appreciated if your spirit is calling you to do that. Thank you so much. West Hawaii to West Africa. Cameroon. Aloha, mahalo.
Okay, so this is what you can look forward to at New Thought in the near future. Next week, the 26th, we will not be on YouTube. Instead, we will be having a participatory Zoom. Anyone that is interested will be able to participate by clicking on the link. And it does require, however, that you do it at the correct time, because it won't be recorded. You can't partake of it after the fact. You have to actually be in the present moment at starting at 10 o'clock on Sunday the 26th. And the link will be sent out by way of the weekly newsletter, and probably on the website as well. And there, in addition to a time of sharing, you know, what we all appreciate about New Thought and what we wish for her future, we will also be recognizing new members. We've received application forms from 3 people already, and it's not too late. It's very easy to become a member of New Thought, actually. And we will recognize those people who have filled out the form since our annual meeting in February. The following Sunday, the 3rd of October, we're looking forward to hearing from Tessa Alburn. It'll be her first time presenting for New Thought. And we're not sure yet whether it will be in person or online, but she's open to doing it either way. The same thing for the 10th of October, Alice and Yana. We're grateful for their flexibility and being willing to rest in the cocoon for a little while till the form of the service becomes clear. So those will either be in person or via YouTube. Our monthly events were canceled for the month of September, but most months, when we're able to meet at the center, we have this rhythm of the first Sunday of the month. We have our crystal bowl meditation starting from 9 to 9:30. The last Sunday of the month, in lieu of a potluck, we have a produce giveaway where our farmers and gardeners share their abundance, and we all get to be grateful receivers. So our two service opportunities, which we're particularly eager to find people willing to say yes. We need volunteers because this, although we are, by next week, we will be past the official birthday, but with a 50th birthday, it's not just a one-day occasion, you know, it's a jubilee. And because of COVID placing certain limits on what we could do, we're going to be celebrating probably for the next year. So we want to gather a group of people to co-create the different aspects of that celebration. And we also need someone to recreate the Facebook page for New Thought Center. We did have one, but when we changed PR people in January, our new PR person, Julia Fairchild, thank you, Julia, took on all the responsibilities that Pomaikai Kulon had done for over a decade, except she was very clear on the fact she was not a Facebook person. So we still need someone just to take care of that aspect of our communication with the wider world. Finally, as I mentioned, it's easy to become a member. To figure out how, the best way is probably to visit the membership donation section of the New Thought website. There's several ways that you can fill out the form online or get it sent to you. You can do this at any time, but it's just if you do it in the next week, you get to be recognized as part of our birthday celebration. Okay, so I think that concludes the announcements. Stop the share. Okay, and now we are going to call on Jean Love again to lead us in the closing song, The Beauty Way.
May we walk in beauty in the sacred way. May we walk in beauty each and every day. May we walk in beauty in sacred way. May we walk in beauty each and every day. May the beauty of the fire lift our spirits higher. May the beauty of the earth fill our hearts with mirth. May the beauty of the rain wash away our pain. May the beauty of the sky teach our minds to fly. May we walk in beauty in a sacred way. May we walk in beauty each and every day. May we walk in beauty in a sacred way. May we walk in beauty each and every day. May the beauty of the fire lift our spirits higher. May the beauty of the earth fill our hearts with mirth. May the beauty of the rain wash away our pain. May the beauty of the sky teach our minds to fly. Aho!
Thank you, Jean. I hope you were all singing along with that. I was. And
All right.
aloha, everyone. Thank you for spending the morning with us.